I caught my husband cheating with my business partner. I always thought that the worst kind of betrayal was romantic, that the idea of the person you love touching someone else, kissing them, whispering the same words they once whispered to you, that nothing could top that in terms of pain. I was wrong, because what I found out wasn't just romantic betrayal, it was financial too. And in some ways, that cut even deeper. My husband, Daniel, and I had been married for 8 years. We'd built a life together, a beautiful home, vacations we could only have dreamed of when we were younger, and a boutique marketing agency we started from scratch. It wasn't just my marriage, it was my business, my livelihood, my dream. Daniel handled operations, I handled creative. We were the perfect team, or so I thought. But about a year ago, I noticed subtle shifts in his behavior. He started coming home later, saying he was working late at the office more often than not. When I'd ask about certain clients or meetings, his answers were vague. And then there was Amanda, my business partner. We'd brought her in 2 years ago to help scale our client base. She was charismatic, smart, and seemed to get along with Daniel a little too well. At first, I told myself it was nothing, that it was just the closeness that comes from working together. But then, little things started piling up. One night, Daniel came home past midnight, reeking of perfume. Not mine, Amanda's Dalai. I recognized it immediately because she always wore the same signature scent, sweet with a hint of vanilla. Another time, I overheard a half-whispered phone call between Daniel and Amanda. I couldn't catch every word, but I distinctly heard him say, "We can't let her find out yet." I wanted to believe it was about a surprise for me, maybe a vacation, a gift, something. But deep down, I felt the pit in my stomach grow heavier. I started quietly keeping track of receipts, of times he claimed to be at work but wasn't, of client meetings that didn't line up with our shared calendar. The breaking point came on a Friday evening when Daniel said he was meeting a client for dinner. I decided to drive to the restaurant and surprise him. When I got there, I didn't see him at the bar or the tables. Instead, I spotted him and Amanda tucked away in the private booth, leaning across the table, holding hands. I froze. My brain screamed to march up and confront them, but my body wouldn't move. Instead, I took out my phone and snapped the photo, my hands trembling so badly I could barely focus the camera. The next morning, I confronted Daniel. At first, he denied everything, said it was a business dinner. But when I showed him the photo, his face went pale. Then came the second blow. Amanda wasn't just his mistress. The two of them had been siphoning money out of our company for months. Thousands of dollars hidden through fake invoices and phantom vendor payments. I found the proof in our accounting software, transactions I'd never approved, payments to accounts I didn't recognize. Every single one traced back to Amanda's cousin's business, which didn't even exist. The days that followed were a blur of lawyers, accountants, and sleepless nights. I filed for divorce and had Amanda removed from the company, but the damage was already done. Clients left when they heard about the scandal, and the reputation I'd spent years building crumbled almost overnight. Daniel tried to fight me for half the business in the divorce, even though he was the one stealing from it. The audacity was almost laughable almost. In the end, I kept the company, but it was a shell of what it had once been. I had to rebuild from the ground up, both professionally and personally. 3 months after the divorce was finalized, I got a message from one of our former clients. They'd seen Daniel and Amanda in another city, running a new agency together. The kicker? They were using my client list, my pitch deck, even some of MY branding. It was like they hadn't just stolen my husband and my money, they'd stolen my entire identity. It's been a year now. My agency is growing again, slowly but surely. I've rebuilt my team, and more importantly, I've rebuilt my trust in myself. Daniel and Amanda? Last I heard, their business collapsed after 6 months. Turns out you can't build success on lies and stolen work. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Betrayal can break you, but it can also be the fire that forges something stronger.